So I didn't quite get through all the books that I wanted to in July, but that's okay because there's always August. Welcome back again to the library, Readers and Rapscallions. Today we are doing recap of July and kind of what I'm looking forward to in August. So I put out a TBR video for July and I was quite ambitious, I've learned. Occasionally my eyes are bigger than my stomach when it comes to reading. And I think I had like 5 or 6 books on that list. I ended up finishing 3 this month. Turns out when you live in the real world, occasionally you get a bit too busy to read, but that's okay because there's always August and this isn't a contest and I just have fun with it. But anyways, talking about what I read in July, I put out a full review of it, but the first book I finished was Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Like I said, I have a full review. This book was magnificent. It's my first experience with a Western novel. It was pretty simple premise. You have a couple of guys putting together an outfit to drive a herd of cattle from Texas to Montana, and the whole story takes place over several months, and you're dealing with the challenges of survival and the frontier and the interactions of all these characters, and that's really where the story shines. The character work is just sensational, second to none. I have never before read characters that have felt so fleshed out and so much like real people. But go check out my review of that to get my full thoughts on it. Just to kind of keep it short, it was something special. And if the page count doesn't intimidate you, we're talking like 840 or so pages. If that doesn't bother you, give it Lonesome Dove a go. The next book I finished in July was Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This one I didn't do a full review on, but I'll go ahead and give my full thoughts. It was a bit more of a mixed bag for me. It's not one that I would call bad. Like, I don't really finish books that I think are bad because I don't want to like waste my time. I only got so much time. I'm not somebody who hate reads. I'm not somebody who feels like I owe some ethereal force to finish a book. If I don't like it, I'm not gonna read it. So I like books. That's also why I don't really have any 1-star reads, because if something is low enough to be rated a 1-star, I just put it down. Devil in the Dark Water is one that kind of falls into the category of just not for me. The premise is a semi-supernatural murder mystery taking place in the 1600s on a boat, and demonic deals and high seas, the interactions of all the characters, and that is good on its face, but there are a couple of things I didn't particularly enjoy with it. If you're going to do a historical fiction, like, try to embrace the history of it a little bit more. One of the things that kind of irks me a bit when I do read mystery novels, which isn't terribly often, but when I do, it's when the detective character is basically a reskin of Sherlock Holmes. I have read every Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes story. I love that character. He's one of my favorite characters in fiction. But there's this thing that happens when, especially if you have like a murder mystery, but mystery detective characters set in historical time periods in particular, it seems, are just a reskin of Sherlock Holmes. Now this story sidesteps it by being a lot of the mystery solving is done by a different character. Now when I say like Sherlock Holmes, does like the deduction thing where they can see like a third of a boot print and notice that somebody walks with a limp, and then they can like figure out somebody's whole life history. Like, that's great, I don't mind that, but that's what Sherlock Holmes does, and you're just kind of doing the same thing, and that sort of bothers me a little bit. I like a little bit of originality. Talking about the characters, I had to kind of keep reminding myself who everyone was. I'm a character first guy, and nobody really like stood out. And when we're getting towards the end and when we're figuring out the final mystery. Firstly, the supernatural stuff didn't really follow a thread that I anticipated or particularly enjoyed, but watching the development of the characters and the storylines, a lot of that was more or less undone in the last few pages, and I'm not really a fan of that. Overall, like I said, not a bad book. People would enjoy it. I'm just not one of those people. Last one I finished in July was one I actually finished today. I'm filming this on the 30th. This would be Dragon Bone Chair by Ted Williams. So I picked this one up because I wanted another big scale fantasy epic to kind of fill the Wheel of Time shaped hole in my heart. I understand it's a significantly shorter series, but I wanted to try out some more high fantasy. This is one that influenced George R. R. Martin with Song of Ice and Fire, etc. It's a big, influential series. It's one of the ones like Wheel of Time that straddles that line between being classical and modern fantasy. So Dragon Bone Chair has been an interesting read. Took me a little bit longer than I thought because it is, and I've heard this, but I experienced it now, it is definitely a slow burn. I was getting a bit annoyed at how much of the plot was being told in dream visions by one or two characters. That got a little bit tired. And it really, honestly, it took me like halfway through to get me hooked. I also know that I've had plenty of stories, series, video games, TV shows, movies, etc., that I have to remind myself not to drop too quickly because they inevitably get good. Honestly, Wheel of Time was like that too. I tried reading Eye of the World like 3 times before I finished up the series, and Dragon Ball Chair absolutely picked up in the end, and I'm looking forward to Stone of Farewell. I'm going to finish the series, despite despite Green Angel Tower being a gigantic tome. I'm going to finish the series. It was just, it's not that it wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't like if you're looking for like a rocket fuel action-packed, like go 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 story, it's not Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, but it is something that I am cautiously optimistic about, and I am very much looking forward to continuing. Anyway, guys, let's move on into August. So as I mentioned, sometimes a TBR list is a bit too big of a beast, but that's okay because this is something I'm doing for fun and not because I'm required to do it. That being said, I'm definitely not going to learn my lesson, and I am almost certainly going to put way too many books on that list. So we're going to pick up the series where I wanted to keep going, and I just kind of ran out of time in the month because time is arbitrary and it doesn't matter. But anyways, next book is going to be Empire of Silence. I am very excited to continue with Sun Eater. So as I mentioned in previous videos, I have read Empire of Silence and Howling Dark. That was a couple years ago, and the reason why I stopped is multiple reasons. I'll explain that in detail at some point eventually, maybe whenever I feel like it. This is my channel, I can do what I want. But suffice it to say, one of those reasons why I stopped reading it is because I wanted the series to catch up a little bit. It was just absolutely wonderful. Like, I have the whole series in right here. I just got the nice Broken Bunny editions, so I wanted to read those. But it's really, really good because that's why I went out and bought a 7-book series without reading more than 2. Anyways, Empire of Silence is going to be it as the first pick for August. After we finish up Empire of Silence, hopefully we'll have a little bit better luck in being more timely for a second entry in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. That's going to be Stone of Farewell. I'm not really going to read much in terms of recap or plot about it because it's a sequel, so I don't want to give anything away. But I am loving what has happened so far with Dragon Bone Chair and Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Like I said, cautiously optimistic, and I'm very much looking forward to exploring more fantasy with that world and going back to Alstenard. It's a good time. It's a good time so far. I'll hold judgment until I finish that book, so we'll see how it goes and if we keep going with the series. And now, because I want to do something a little bit lighter, I've got the compendium for Invincible. This is volume 1, so it's like a third of the whole series comic run. That's big. I'm not going to finish the whole thing. I'm probably going to read like 1, 2, 3 or so issues of it, just kind of in between the books to sort of break things up a little bit. I said in one of my first videos, it might actually be my first video, I want to recommend it, but I also don't because it's one of my first videos and it's very, very rough. But anyways, I said that I wanted to read more graphic novels slash comic books, and that's going to be a further foray into that medium. After Stone of Farewell, kind of in between all of these, we're going to continue with Sun Eater, go into Howling Dark. So this one is where I left off with the series. I have read this one, like with Empire of Silence, but this is where it goes from being something very, very good, very, very promising, and completely capturing my attention to like just next level. Oh my god, the ending of this book is just amazing. And the plot developments that happen on a planet are just next level, and I love it, and I am so excited to continue with this series. And I'm really hoping I catch up because book 7 is going to be released in November, and I don't know if I'm going to get there in time, but we will see. And because I'm a glutton for punishment and I enjoy setting goals that are way too lofty, overpromise and underdeliver, that's the American way, I'm going to add one more book to the list, and that's Gerald's Game by Stephen King. I need to read more Stephen Kings. I have a whole bunch of them up there, and I've read about half of them. I think I have like 10 or so Stephen Kings under my belt at this point. And I love the author's work, and I really want to expand that bibliography because the guy's known for his horror, but he dabbles into just about everything. He's known for his horror, and this is going to be read in August. After August is September, and after September is October, which is the start of spooky season. So, I mean, technically it counts as spooky season, right? For me, once the last firework goes off on 4th of July, it's spooky season right up until October 31st. And that's the way I feel like everybody should do it. But anyways, yeah, Stephen King, Gerald's Game. As I understand it, it is, general story is two people are getting kind of like kinky and doing adult stuff, and somebody gets handcuffed to the bed as a part of that. And there's something that happens that person is kind of just left there, and it's a combination of spooky stuff may or may not be happening, and this may or may not be all in somebody's head. So I'm very, very interested to see what happens. And plus, for Stephen King, it's a little bit shorter. I should hopefully finish it without too much trouble. Hopefully we get through that one in August, and that'll set me up to continue with Sun Eater in September. Yeah, guys, so that is going to be August reading, and also what I thought about a fairly slow but not all that bad reading month of July. I had to remember where we were in the year for a second. So my TBR for July was a bit ambitious, but it is good to have ambition. Remember, guys, don't fall into the trap of feeling like I have to read this, I need to get through this, I have to finish this part of my hobby, because then it stops being fun. It's okay, and some would argue good, to have structure and schedules for the things you enjoy. You know, scheduled practice time. I'm going to finish these books. I'm going to watch these movies. I'm going to get through these 3 episodes of the show I'm on tonight. All the things that you enjoy. It's good to have structure, so you make sure to make time for it. But don't feel like you have to stick to particular schedules or meet deadlines with what you do for fun, because then it stops being fun. That's just my little word of wisdom, and I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for stopping in at the library, and we will see you next time. Happy August.